my name is Chloe, and welcome to another TGI Friend Day. So today I am coming to you with a friend from the opposite side of the world. So I'm filming this. It's Saturday at 4:45, and it's Sunday morning sometime there, like completely opposite. And I'm so excited. I have never, Kerryn, well, this is Kerryn from Rather Be Reading, and her and I chat on Voxer a lot, but we have never like face-to-face chatted. So I'm really excited. Just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kerryn from Rather Be Reading. Nice to see you all.
Yay. You're on YouTube, kind of Instagram. You're on Instagram. Anywhere else that we can find you?
Yeah, I'm at Rather Be Reading, no G, on Instagram and Twitter.
No apostrophe either, though, right? Just Rather Be Reading.
No, just straight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just get into it. How did you get into reading? Was it a person, a specific book? What got you into reading?
I don't know, to be honest. I've just always been a reader, like since I was a kid. I've asked my parents before, like, was there a particular moment when you realized, oh, I was really into this reading thing? And they say, no, it was always just a thing that I've done since I was really little. For as long as I can remember, I was always just reading.
Yeah.
Since I was little.
Were you a good student?
No. When I was little, yes, like primary school, like elementary for you guys, school age, yes. Once we kind of got up into high school, not so much. Once we were kind of required to spend time outside of school studying, I was less into that.
Yeah.
But in like lower school, I really did enjoy it.
Yeah. So why did you start a booktube?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. When I first discovered booktube, which I kind of stumbled on by accident, I was just like, as most people, I just floored. I was like, wow, there's this whole area of the internet where people are just talking about books. It was really mind-boggling that it even existed.
Yeah.
And so then I was just immediately like, I have to do this. Like, this is my corner of the internet. I need to be a part of this. And I knew pretty much straight away once I started watching that I wanted to, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we've got a cat. Winnie's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, I knew straight away that I wanted to make my own channel and be a part of it. So it took a few months for me to like get a camera and like kind of get going. But once I was
How long have you been on booktube?
6 years next month. It's
been
a really
yeah. You were so consistent and good. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. So what are your
especially for the last few years? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. The last couple of years you've been what?
Oh, really consistent. I was just going to say the first couple of years, there were definitely a few periods where, videos lagged for like months at a time. But once I kind of really got into a consistent schedule, it's been like pretty consistent ever since.
I feel like once you get in like the habit or the routine of it, it just becomes like something you do. I mean, it's just a thing you do. So what's your favorite genre? This is I'm guessing a hard question for you. Because you are very eclectic.
Well, I always say my favorite genre is thriller. And it is definitely probably my favorite genre, even though it's the genre that I'm definitely the pickiest with. But it is my favorite, but I do read just like everything. I really do just read a little bit from all genres. That's really probably my favorite.
That's like one of the reasons I love watching your channel, like as a viewer, not a friend, is just you read like everything. I mean, is there anything you won't read?
No, not really. I'll pretty much read anything.
Who are some of your favorite authors?
I don't have as many like favorite authors. I feel like because I read across so many genres, I kind of dip in and out of so many different authors. And then favorite authors that I've had for like a long time, I don't know if I'm in love with the same way that I used to be. Like I would still say that like Jodi Picoult is like a favorite author, just because she is an author who I've read pretty much everything from. Just has a brand new book that's come out, which I obviously haven't read, and also her one came out just before that I haven't read yet. But apart from that, I've read everything from her, and I've been reading her since I was like 16. And she is an author that whenever she comes out with something, I'll pretty much like pick up something from her. Yeah, God, 16, that is a long time ago. I just realized like how long that is that I've been reading her. But she doesn't necessarily fall into like my favorite types of reads anymore. She is still an author that I'll pick up stuff from. And then I have other authors that I've like over the years I've like owned like millions of books from, but I don't really read from them anymore. Like Julie Barwood is a romance author who I used to read everything by. I own like her entire back catalogue from up to like 5 years ago, and I haven't picked up anything from her in years. And like I don't know like that I would anymore. Like if something came up, like I would read it, but she's not an author that I would like go to anymore.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I've just got authors that like kind of if I see their name, I'm like, oh, I want to read that from them. Like I'll pick it up, but I don't really have any particular authors that I'm like, this is my favorite author who I'm like in love with and would read everything from. That makes sense.
How would you just how would you categorize Jodi Picoult books? They're not thriller, they're not literary fiction necessarily, they're not mystery, but they're like all of the above.
No, they're more like, yeah, they're like kind of like domestic dramas.
Yeah, I guess it is drama.
And one thing she is really good at is she does always write about, not really, but I don't really know how else to describe her. And like I said, she always writes about like a current, like relevant topic. Usually would be something I really like about her. She always picks like something that's like actually going on in like today's world and like really delves into it in an interesting way. So I do love that about her. Yeah, I don't really know what genre. Like I said, she's kind of a mix, I guess, of like women's fiction, but like slightly more literary style women's fiction. I guess I would describe sometimes we have a mystery element, sometimes not.
She's a bit of a mix. So hard to like put in a box.
Exactly.
But she is also one of the most like well-researched, I feel like, authors. She always she writes about things that, one, normally I learn something from her books, and two, like she clearly does her research.
Yeah, and like I like that she always puts forward different like viewpoints. I think other than even like what her viewpoint is, she really does make an effort to like kind of show like the different sides to the argument, and maybe a side that you haven't really considered or delved into. I do often leave her books thinking, never really thought of it like that before. Yeah. So like she is good at that.
Yeah, I agree. So what are some of your favorite tropes? And you can pick genre specific or just like in general things you really like to see in books of any genre.
Oh gosh. I've obviously got my like favorite like romance type tropes, which are the tropes I'm sure that everybody loves. I love fake dating. That's one of my favorites. I love secret dating as well. Like when someone has to like secretly, but not when it's like a weird toxic relationship, and that's why it's a secret. But like where it's like colleagues who aren't supposed to date because they're not allowed to date in the office. They have to like keep it a secret. Into that
forbidden.
Obviously, hate to love.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Forbidden kind of comes into the keeping it a secret. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, hate to love. I really enjoy. They're probably my favorite romance tropes. And then in terms of thrillers, I've spoken about this so much on my channel. I love every kind of thriller trope that there is. Going back to the small town that you grew up in to solve some crime from your past from like 10 years ago, love it. You know, I just love all of the thriller tropes that there are, pretty much. The only thing I don't love in thrillers is when it becomes really outrageous that someone's like inserting themselves into a police investigation that's really unrealistic. Apart from that, I'm into all of the tropes.
Yeah. So do you like police oh my gosh, I cannot say that. Police procedurals.
I do. Like I like there's a lot of people when they read thrillers only like a specific type of thriller. I'm pretty open to every type of thriller, and I will read like more like crime fiction, quote unquote. Which like more police procedurals. Like I read a lot of Michael Connelly at the moment, who most of his books are either like police procedural or legal thrillers, like courtroom dramas. I like those as well. Pretty much anything set in like that kind of legal crime, murdery, stalkery world, I'm happy
all
to read.
The fun, cheery stuff. So is it a deal breaker if you can guess the end?
I almost always guess the end. It does definitely bump a rating up on a thriller if I get to the end and I'm like, total plot twist. Like I love that moment. Like it's one of the best moments for me in reading is getting to that moment and being like totally surprised. I love it, but it's pretty rare. I guess the ending 9 times out of 10. For me, it's more about like how well crafted it is and if the author like takes you on a good journey to figure it out. Because there are some that you read and I hate when the ending is presented as if it's supposed to be shocking and you're just there like, I figured this out on page 10. Like I don't know why you're trying to act like they're surprised. No one's surprised. That's the only time I really
What book was that we read?
Guessing ending isn't a deal breaker.
What book was that we read that it was literally like page 10 and you were like, I bet this is what's going on? What was that?
I can't remember. That happens to me all the time. I've even had as well where I've guessed the twist just of hearing someone else like give the synopsis like on their channel. Someone like say, oh, this is what the book's about. And I'm like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes it's just so obvious where the author's going to head with it.
Yeah. Do you think that is because you're really good just in general, like your mind thinks that way? Or do you think like if you read a certain number of thrillers, it's like bound to happen?
I think it's a bit of both. I think
Mm-hmm.
generally I'm pretty like intuitive at like picking up different things that the author's trying to put in there usually, but it is also a combination of, it is inevitable if you read a lot of thrillers that you do just start to pick up on like a certain type of formula that the author's kind of heading down, certain little key things that they put in that you're like, okay, like I can see where we're going with this. Which is one of the downsides, I guess, to if you love the genre, you're going to read a lot of it, you are going to start to just really guess where the books are headed. But I still just love the journey of it, so it's not like a huge deal.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you wish there was more of in the book world, like in a specific genre or combinations of genre? Can you tell I just woke up from a nap? Combinations of genres. Like, is there anything you wish there was more of in the book world?
That's a hard question. I can't think of anything off the top, but there probably is. I just can't think of anything. I'm sure there's probably a million times on my channel where I've said, we need more of this. But I just can't think of anything. I do like not love that once something becomes a little bit popular, the market just becomes oversaturated with that type of book. The publisher realizes, ooh, people like this, and now every book that comes out is going to have like, you know, this particular thing in it, and then you just get bored of it. It like loses its pizzazz if you're reading it all the time. No, I can't think of anything I'm sure there are, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I really want to see more of.
Okay. What about in booktube? Is there anything that you want to see more of in booktube?
Not necessarily, because I think that there are channels out there for everyone. People get recommended, I think, like when you first discover booktube, you get recommended kind of the same bigger channels, like what comes up in your recommended, and they're what people kind of start watching first off. But if you really start delving into like, you know, the real depths of booktube, like there are channels out there literally dedicated to all types of reading. You just have to be willing to like kind of really like delve deep and to find them. Like I think if people would do like searches, even like in the search bar on YouTube, for like their favorite books, or and find people who've talked about that book and then look into their types of videos, and then once you find someone who is reading like what you want to hear about, then paying attention to the channels that they talk about, and then subscribing to that if that's all you want to watch, is like people who talk about the books you love. I don't really have that because I read, one, because I read so widely anyway, but I also love watching channels as well that like read stuff that I never in a million years would probably like pick up, not because I'm like against it, but it's just not as much on my radar. Like I watch some channels that read like mostly like hardcore sci-fi, which is not something I pick up super often, or people who read really like hardcore lit fiction as well, where I'm like, if I would read that, I would probably feel so dumb and would just miss all of the themes. But I still love watching those people talk about it.
Yeah. Is there a very large Australian presence on YouTube? Because I feel like I watch you and maybe a couple others, but I would say from my feed and that kind of stuff, I don't see a lot of Australians. Is that true, or do you care either, like about where people are when they're talking about things?
I actually thought about this recently because I realized that I don't know if I'm subscribed to anyone from Australia, which is terrible. But it's just, like you said, it's not something I pay attention to. I just, if I come across a channel and I enjoy their content, then I'll just subscribe to them. It doesn't really matter where they're from, because I'm subscribed to so many people, obviously from the US, Canada, the UK, but not that many from Australia, which is honestly really surprising. I think there is probably a lot of Australian booktubers, but apparently I haven't found them yet.
Well, I wonder if there was a bigger Australian presence, because you and I have talked before about like the cozy reading tag or whatever, and like different readathons and challenges and tags and things that happen that are very Northern Hemisphere specific as far as like weather wise. I personally kind of wish that there was a bigger like Australian, New Zealand presence to kind of represent the Southern Hemisphere and other Southern Hemisphere countries, because like truthfully, aside from our friendship, I never would have thought like, hey, we're kind of like neglecting half the world here in these super seasonal things.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we've definitely talked about that. Whenever I like see, sometimes I see people like doing like full recommendations and like cozy recommendations. I'm like, I am over here sweating my balls off because it's like we're heading into like the height of summer.
Yeah.
I still like enjoy watching those videos, but then I think if I put out full recommendations at this stage, it would seem, for one, we don't call it fall, autumn recommendations. It would seem disingenuous because it's not autumn. But then if I put out a summer recommendations when it's in the middle of winter for everyone else, would anyone like care to watch it? So definitely like there is a weird kind of disparity with definitely the seasonal things. And like time zones obviously is hard, like we've talked about that, setting up the time for this is figuring out like time when people are, you know, available. I actually someone had a Twitter thread about the things that are hard for booktubers when they're in the different hemisphere, and I'd mentioned that live shows. I don't think I've ever in my like 6 years of filming booktube, let alone the longer period before that I was watching, I think I've caught maybe 2 live shows ever,
like live,
actually live. They just never fall at a time when I can like actually actively watch.
Well, because you guys are like not literally the opposite side of the world, but I mean, depending on time zones, sometimes you're just over 12 hours different from us, so it is exactly night and day of what's going on. So it's really hard, I would imagine, for you guys to do anything like that. And I feel like that's a disservice to Australian booktubers because
and sometimes people try to do like weeknight evenings because obviously that's really convenient for them. Well, then it'll be like the middle of the workday for me, and it's like I can't unfortunately take like 2 hours out of my workday to watch a live. But I do always try to, if it's something I'm interested in, I try to like watch lives after. But obviously it's a huge time commitment at that point.
Right. And then you miss the like interactive kind of conversational piece.
You can't participate in the chat obviously if you're not there live.
Okay, so tell me, you can answer this for this year or last year if you don't want to like ruin best of videos, but what are some of your favorite and least favorite books that you have read this year? Or you can do last year if you don't want to ruin best of videos.
Well, I've talked about this I think already. I've kind of spoiled it on my channel already because I've only had 2 5-star reads so far in 2020 because
really,
as we know, I'm super stingy with my ratings, and they were both in the early part of the year. So probably my favorite book I've read so far in 2020, hopefully fingers crossed we've still got some 5 stars left that could squeeze in by the end of the year, but my favorite so far has been All the Rage by Courtney Summers. That's my favorite, definitely, that I read. And my least favorite, I don't know, off the top of my head, it's probably Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
That Courtney Summers book, I feel like that is very, very, very underhyped. Like, I don't hear anybody talking about that.
I think it's because it's one of her older publications. So I read Sadie by her last year and loved that. Gave that 4.5 stars. And then I just happened to own All the Rage, which is one of her older publications. I think it came out quite a few years ago, which is probably why it's not talked about as much, like currently obviously on BookTube. And then so I read that one and loved that, obviously. And so then that's the thing that really sparked like Courtney Summers. I think is definitely up and coming for me as like a favorite author. I plan to like read her whole back catalogue and really like delve into all of her books because I've loved both of the ones that I've read so far. But it's not something I hear referenced a lot on BookTube.
You hear about Sadie and that's about it in regards to her. Like I don't hear very many people talking about her in general.
Sadie was the only one of hers that I'd like really heard about mentioned like super often.
So one thing I love so much about you, Kerryn, and I relate to so hard is like you are so like, for example, you are going through Colleen Hoover's backlist in order and reading them. And like she watches all of her subscription feed in order and is just very logical and methodical about things. And it comes off in your reviews and all of that. And you just talk so succinctly about books. And is that something that just comes natural to you, or is that something that has come over your 6 years of YouTube, or how do you do it?
Well,
oh no, she's frozen.
Saying consequential things when you're talking about this book. And I definitely think a little bit of it comes with experience. Obviously, in your early days of BookTube, there's a lot of like feeling really awkward and like stumbling over your words and like not knowing how to like really articulate the way that you want to. But once you just kind of get over it and get used to it, I just kind of talk how I would talk naturally in real life. So I guess like it must just be something that comes a little bit naturally. I just talk how I would talk in everyday life if I was like chatting to a friend, I guess.
Well, you're good at it. I love it. So what are you currently reading?
I actually currently reading a romance.
Ooh, fancy. What one?
I'm currently reading Bad Influence by Stephanie London.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the last book in a trilogy. So, and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it because I've mentioned like when I talked about it on my channel, it's a series that's like a companion series, and each book follows a different friend. And there's been one of the girls in the friendship group that I really haven't liked through either of the previous two books. Like I really don't like her character. And this book's following her, and I was like,
I hate
not
that.
sure how I'm going to like this book because I really find her irritating.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I haven't read too much of it yet.
Yeah, I hate that. Have you read the I Heart series by Lindsay Kelk? Kind of a chick lit series.
I have not, but I've heard you talking about it, and it seems like it might be a bit of a slog to get through.
It's cute, but like she has a best friend that I just cannot stand. And she got a book and I like read it anyway, and I was like, why am I doing this? I don't like you. I don't want to read about you. But I did it anyway.
Yeah, well, with this one, it was like it's the final book in the trilogy, so I was like, I kind of felt like I had to read it, and I thought maybe they're setting her up to have a lot of really great character growth, and like so maybe there'll be like a really great like resolution to her being like so annoying. So well, I'm hopeful, but
Yeah,
I don't suspect that we will. I think I'm going to find it not enjoy it as much, but we'll see.
Okay. Now we're gonna do just some rapid fire this or that questions, okay?
Okay.
Ebook, audiobook, hardback, or physical?
Okay.
Or paperback?
Paperback.
Buy or borrow?
Bye.
That's another reason I love your channel, though, is you are a good library user. In fact, you are what motivated me to really start getting physical stuff from the library, because you do that a lot.
Yeah, I use my library a lot. Probably too much because it means I don't get through it. My physical TBR probably anywhere near as quickly as I would if I didn't get so much out from the library, but I just love my library so much.
You use it a lot until you get locked out because you never take books back.
Oh, I know. Don't shame me, Chloe.
Not that it's happened before.
I fear that I'm on the verge of another lockout.
Yeah. Okay, quiet or
no, that was the
background
first
noise?
time it's ever happened to me, but I think we're about
Really?
to happen again.
That's funny. Okay, quiet or background noise?
I guess quiet, but it doesn't actually bother me. One of the things that I was like famous for as a kid being a reader was that like anything could be going on around me and I'd just be ignoring everything and reading, or that my mom would be calling out to me to like do a chore or something. I'd just be like and in the book completely ignoring what was going on. But I guess if I had a choice, I'd probably be quiet.
Okay. Indoor or outdoor?
Indoor.
Yeah. Meet your favorite author or meet your favorite character?
I think meet your favorite character. I think authors are two real life people, like that they've got their own like issues and stuff that like people can maybe probably never live up to.
Yeah.
Being as great as what we want them to be in real life. Whereas our characters, we get to see like it all kind of put out there on the page, and I feel like we really kind of know who they are, so they're less likely to disappoint me. So I'd probably meet my favorite characters.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head who one of them would be? That's a really hard question, so if you don't know, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Like probably really cliche-ly, like maybe like Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, which is a really cliche answer, but she's probably someone that I would like to meet in real life.
Yeah. Okay. Book to movie or book to TV show?
Oh, that's hard. Probably honestly book to movie. But if I had a choice, then book to miniseries is like ideal. Okay. I feel like they can expand on things, but they don't go completely off script.
Yeah.
Like off like the books, because like there's so many series that are made into TV shows, and then after the first season or two, you're like, what in the heck? This does not resemble the books at all anymore.
Yeah.
So, but a mini series is like pretty ideal. They can like stretch it out a little bit more, do a bit more with it, but they don't go too crazy with off plot.
Yeah. Okay, classics or new releases?
If I had a choice, like if I could only read one or the other, like moving forward, it would be new releases, but you know that I like to dip into classics.
Okay, so if
I had a choice, it'd be new releases.
If you could read nothing new or no rereading?
Oh, I think it'd have to be no rereading. Because there's just so many books, like, you know, just on my own TBR right now, like there's hundreds of books that I haven't read, and that's only scratching the surface. I mean, it'd be sad to give up rereading those books that I really love and I like to go back to, but there's just so much new to discover that I could never give up like reading these.
Yeah, that would be hard though, because like authors who you have read their whole backlist, like Jodi Picoult and stuff, like you could never read her again unless, I mean, she kept writing new stuff, but
Yeah, like it's like, and there are authors that I do like to go back to. There's an author that I forgot to mention as a favorite author that's like not really a favorite currently, but like I love is Sarah Dessen. Like
Oh
I was a
yeah.
hardcore Sarah Dessen like stan in high school. Like I loved her, and I will continue to read the books that she comes out with just for like pure nostalgia and pure like high school support. And I do like to go back and reread her like earlier novels, the ones that I really fell in love with, because I do just have like such a nostalgic love for those books. So that would be sad to like give up that type of nostalgic rereading, but I couldn't give up like discovering new stuff.
Yeah. Standalones or series?
I think standalone. I think because it just ties in better with like my favorite, like, you know, like thriller's my favorite genre. I think thrillers are more conducive to standalones. But I do love a series, but I think if I could only choose one or the other, it would probably be standalones.
Good call. Do you like to read solo or in a book club?
I guess solo, but I've never really experienced a book club. I've done a couple of buddy reads. Like I've buddy read with you. I've buddy read with a few other people. And I do enjoy a buddy read, but I've never read with more than one other person at a time. I've never been a part of a book club. And I feel like I actually would enjoy that. But even that's kind of solo in terms of normally with that type of book club, you would read the book yourself and just have people to discuss it with, which can be fun. But I've never participated in that, so maybe I would hate it and just find other people annoying. I don't know. I feel like probably solo.
Yeah. Okay. And then last, coffee or tea?
Coffee. I do love both coffee and tea, but coffee is something that I drink like every day, whereas tea is more of an occasional thing.
Yeah. Have you been to Starbucks yet this winter season?
We don't have Starbucks in Australia. Well, that's a lie. We have a couple, like there's one or two Starbucks in like the big cities in like Sydney and Melbourne. Actually, they're even in Sydney. I don't know. I know there is in Melbourne because I've been to the one in Melbourne the last time I was there, but we do not have it in Adelaide, and we don't have it in most of Australia. It's like not a thing.
Really? You know what else is not a thing in Australia that shocks me is pumpkin. Like, so pumpkin spice latte you've never had, pumpkin bread, all of that kind of stuff you've never had, correct?
No.
That still mind boggles
me. No,
I
mean, pumpkin is a thing as a vegetable. Like we have pumpkin as like a vegetable with meals, or like other people do. I don't like pumpkin, but it's not a sweet thing. Like pumpkin pie, pumpkin coffees and like teas and like desserts and things. It's just not a thing here. It's like unheard of.
So crazy. Do you feel like you're missing out? Because you kind of are.
Sometimes I do. Like I said, I don't necessarily because I don't like pumpkin, although I think to myself, it must taste different. Like it can't taste like the vegetable, like we have like a steamed pumpkin, like with dinner. Like it can't taste like that. It must be nicer than that. So I feel like I'm missing out because I would like to try it just once, but I don't think I would like it. So I don't feel like I'm missing out really. I do wish we had something. So I was going to say, I wish we had something more like Starbucks, because I see like, you know, whenever you watch like people on YouTube and stuff, like the variety of drinks is just like seems like absolutely crazy, and there's so many weird interesting things that I would like love to try, and we just don't really have anything like that here. So I would love to try it.
Yeah, I feel like for Christmas I need to send you like a can of pumpkin and a recipe and say open your eyes. Open your eyes to pumpkin. Pop your pumpkin cherry.
I can like film a video of me trying to bake a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I would love to see that. Well, I think it's about to cut us off. So thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will tell everybody again where to find you, what your channel name is.
Rather Be Reading. That's where you can find me.
Yep. Okay, everyone have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.